Hey everybody, this is Heather and Jenny with Surviving Darkness, and this is episode 21.
So we thought today we would talk about just some of the things that, like growing up, that we had wanted to do when we got older. And with the circumstances that we were living in, we weren't able to do it. Like I think I've touched on before, wanting to go to law school. And I sort of convinced myself that I didn't want to go because, one, I was afraid that I would wind up defending someone that I pretty much felt in my heart was guilty, although it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, and have someone out on the street that really didn't need to be on the street. So I didn't feel like that would be like a helpful thing to do. And I always said I didn't want to argue with people all day, every day. And then the field that I went into, my first placement or first job really was a nursing home. And I argued with people all day, every day about why they needed to do therapy in order to be able to get better and go home. So I probably would have made more money if I became a lawyer and argued all day.
But you like to argue.
No, I don't.
So do you think that the things we went through also, like...
Well, I knew I couldn't go away to school.
Yeah.
That was the main reason I didn't go, but I used the other things as
reasons.
Yeah, ways to deal with the fact that I knew I couldn't go away to school. I'd already tried once.
Yeah, that's me. I played college softball, but it was local, and I wish I would have been able to go off somewhere else to a bigger college to do something like that, you know?
And it sort of feels almost like it was a waste of 4 years of college for that bachelor's degree in business administration, in business law, because it was a pre-law pretty much. Only thing I could really use it for was a pre-law and to go on to law school. I mean, I had some business classes, but it wasn't focused enough to be able to be like an accountant or in management or anything like that. It was more, I knew more of the real estate, criminal, all that kind of laws. So that, I mean, it does sort of feel like a waste, but I didn't really have the opportunity to figure out what I wanted to do because going to college wasn't an option. It was a demand. You are going. And that summer we had lost so many people back to back. And like June, July, August, September, we lost people that we really cared about, one each month. And then I had gone to college in Kentucky. And it was only there for a week and had to come back home. And it was like I had to miss a funeral that Saturday because I had to go register that day because classes started like on Monday. And that was the last day of late registration. So I wasn't even allowed to go to that funeral and set out a semester between high school and college.
Right.
And figure out what I wanted to do. So basically, it was one of those, we were raised, if you start something, you finish it. So I started a program that I wasn't really sure if that's what I really wanted to do in my life or with my life. So 4 years, I'm still paying for a college degree that if I would have been able to focus on just college instead of all the grief that we were going through that summer, I may have picked something.
Right.
Which I did pick something later.
Right.
And got the associate's degree in therapy, but I would have possibly gone into something more like that from the get-go. But that wasn't an option we had. It was never, do you want to go to college? It's, what are you going for? And there was no waiting because it was, you won't go if you wait.
And yeah, and it was like with mine, I knew I wanted to do something in medical, and I really had thought about doing x-ray. But it was, well, you should do this first, you know, which was ultrasound. And I mean, I had to at that time too, because that's where I got my scholarship. But I think that I would have liked to have done physical therapy, occupational therapy, something like that too. But we didn't have that option either, like you say, of changing our major. You know, it was like, no, that's not.
And we had to go to a school that was within driving distance. And it was like a little community college. So you had to just pick what you wanted to do from that school.
Right.
It wasn't like we could go to a big university in another city, like an hour, 2 hours away. We had to stay where we could drive back and forth and not stay in a dorm or anything like that.
Yeah, be able to be home. So
Right.
everything was controlled, and so he could see everything and know everything that was going on, you know?
Right.
So, and then that's like I was talking about singing. You know, I won a contest and was able to go to Nashville to record a demo, and it was a great opportunity, but I was terrified and it was awful. But anyway, like, I feel like that's something that I wish I would have pursued more, you know, not necessarily to become a famous country singer, you know, but there are other options that you have for singing, you know.
And do you feel like that even that was controlled? It was like, put all your focus on softball and all of that, and he would sort of deter you from doing the singing part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was, oh, they've done changed everything with your voice in chorus in high school. They've done ruined it. They've done turned you into like an opera singer. There's nothing natural about your voice anymore.
He never had anything
positive to say about
it. You know,
it's just too fake. It's not natural. And
now, you know, I sing in church, and I still get nervous, of course, but I used to get terrified to sing in front of people because there was not any positive feedback as far as, you know.
The thing is, though, but you won a contest when we went for like those church competitions when you were like 4 years old. That was prior to any kind of training or chorus classes or anything like that. So it had to have been a natural thing for you to have won when you were 4 years old.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, so it's just something I've always done is sing, you know. I sang in church forever, and it's kind of sad to get all kinds of feedback from everybody else, you know, outside of your family, but you know, the one person who, you know, Mom just didn't say a lot about it anyway. She just didn't. You know what I mean? Not putting her down. She just didn't. And loud things bothered her. So, you know, I'd have to go in my room and shut the door in order to sing and everything too. But she, you know, so she didn't say a lot. But then anytime that I did sing, like even in the car or anything like that, it was just never good enough.
Right. Was critiqued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, his family did sing, you know, as a group in church and everything like that. And, you know, I just don't get that.
You didn't have that natural country twang.
Yeah.
Is what.
Yeah.
It was too formal.
And I'm like, well, maybe that's not what I wanted to sing. Maybe I wanted to sing like Celine Dion and people like that, which is what I love singing, you know?
Right.
Because it's a challenge for me. Maybe I didn't want to be a country singer, you know? Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying.
Right.
Everybody has their own. They're their own person, you know?
Right.
But we weren't allowed to be our own people.
Right.
We weren't allowed to make our own decisions.
Yeah. And that may have taken you away from the house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We can't have that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's kind of what we, you know, when we were talking about trying to figure out a topic, I was like, you know, let's just talk about some of the things how we feel like life might have been different. God has a reason for everything, and we know that, you know, but at the same time, it's what would you have wanted, or where would you have wanted your life to be, you know, or where do you think you would be if.
I sit and think about, would I have been as shy and reserved in school? School was so uncomfortable for me. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I had a lot of acquaintances, which now I'm fine with that. But then it was lonely.
Yeah.
I mean, we dealt with this stuff at home, and then people at school had their little friends and their little cliques and stuff, and it was lonely because I didn't have a whole lot of friends.
Right.
I knew a lot of people because of softball, but I didn't have a lot of friends.
And then the friends you did have, Dad wouldn't let you go anywhere with them hardly.
No.
Because, you know, they were doing
wild.
things, that you shouldn't have been doing, and you would have been in the middle of all that and doing all of that stuff too, you know. So
although I had the one friend who had a kid like our senior year, and Dad had gotten so mad because she bought me a swan ornament and had my name engraved in it, and she put a little sticky note in there that said, because Dad's favorite saying was birds of a feather stick together or flock together or whatever.
Yeah.
But she said, she had on that, birds of a feather flock together, but this swan swims alone, and had my name engraved on it. And oh, Dad got so mad because that's just a slur towards him and
disrespectful.
Yeah, but I thought it was something sweet that she may have been doing her thing and not really just being a little wild, but she still recognized that wasn't who I was.
Right.
And we had been friends since we were like 11, 12 years old. So it was like, so they start experimenting is basically what you would call it. Then it was like, oh, they were just getting in trouble.
Right.
But they were being normal teenagers that we weren't allowed to be. But I was supposed to just not hang out with them, not talk to them, not have anything to do with them because they changed. And I couldn't. I wasn't going to, because I was friends with them from the time when we were kids.
Right.
And just because they changed don't mean I just automatically decided, hey, I don't like you anymore.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And I just wonder, you know, if I didn't have all that going on at home, would I have been more open? Would I have been more friendly? Would I have wanted more friends and been more receptive to people talking to me instead of keeping my head down and quiet because I didn't want anyone to acknowledge that I was present? So I wonder if things would have been different in school and stuff if I hadn't gone through what we had gone through.
And there again, you know, we were not allowed to make our own decisions, to make our own mistakes and learn from our mistakes.
No.
We did, of course. I mean, we did things, and
I feel like I did mine later on in life.
Right.
It was like, I don't know. I always talk about how I feel like I lost myself there for a while. And I guess I did, because it was like, no one's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to make these decisions. And they were horrible decisions. And I didn't care. I was self-destructing and I didn't care.
But you realized that you were the one making those decisions. You were able to make those decisions on your own.
And maybe it was rebellion.
Good, you know what I mean? Right, exactly. And that's what I mean, you know. Finally, I have a point in my life where I can make decisions on my own. And nobody's going to tell me what to do.
And if they're bad decisions, so what?
Yeah.
Who cares? And it's almost, I feel like I was like a slap in his face. I'm going to do what I want to do. Everything you told me I wasn't allowed to do, and everything you said that I was going to wind up being if you didn't keep your thumb on us and keep us held down, is everything that I'm going to be. So it was probably just a rebellion.
Now, there are some times that I am thankful for him being so strict. Do you feel that way? Because there are times that I'm thankful that I didn't end up pregnant at 15, 16 years old, because I didn't have that opportunity. But at the same time, I wish I would have had the opportunity to make mistakes. You know, I'm not saying that I wanted to get pregnant at 16. I don't mean that by any means. I'm just saying that, you know, do you feel that way too? Like sometimes that I am thankful that things, you know, that I was watched over too. Yeah. Not to the extent that we were, yes. But
I think being a little strict is okay. But I think being over dominating and controlling is like an extreme.
It's like, you know, I was married before. We didn't go on hardly any dates. I mean, we went very few, you know, and I wasn't even hardly allowed to go down to his house, his parents' house.
Right.
Hardly at all, because Dad wouldn't be able to know what was going on, you know.
You weren't allowed to be alone.
No,
Even as adults, we weren't allowed to be alone.
No.
With someone. We had still early curfews.
I think I've said this before, you know, 2 weeks before I got married, I was working on wedding invitations. And when I got home, it was like midnight, and I got in trouble for that. You know, 2 weeks before I got married. And all he had to do was call. I was not anywhere I was not supposed to be.
Right.
All he had to do was call and find out exactly where I was.
Right.
You know, but no, I still got in trouble when I got home. I'd already graduated college and everything, you know, was getting married to move out of the house.
Yeah.
So, and that was the control, you know, it just was.
And that's just like I have said before too. I had 2 college degrees and was still being told that I couldn't make it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
With 2 college degrees, I mean, really?
Yes. Yeah.
I could make it on my own, but I had heard that for so long, I believed it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things. Like, as a teenager, me and our next door neighbor, they had cows and stuff, and they had these, like, almost like, it looked like dog houses on the back side of the barn. I don't know exactly what they were, but anyway, we would sit on there and we would look way back out at the mountains. And we would talk about one day we were just going to walk over that mountain, and whatever was on the other side of that mountain, that's where we were going to plant ourselves. We were just going to move right on over there. Don't know what was on the other side of that mountain, but it was like, to me, that was just a dream. I just want to be away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's over there. I don't know what town we're going to be in. I don't know anything. I just know that I just want to be over that mountain.
And what's funny with that being said is we've stayed.
We did. And
Where
I
we
was
grew
a little
up,
upset because she graduated from high school and she moved clear out of state.
Yes.
I was like, and I think I was more upset because I felt like she left me. We were supposed to go together across that mountain and plant our roots and stuff over there. And she done went way up north.
Right. Yes.
Had kids, moved on, and everything else. And I think that bothered me because we had plans.
Right. But you know what? Like I just said, we stayed around here, but I'm kind of glad that we did because we're with our mom.
Right.
We're with each other. We're with our families, you know? So a lot of people would have been like, I'm not staying anywhere near where everything happened. I want to get as far away as I can, you know?
But that's a way of not dealing with it.
Right.
Running from it.
And I never wanted to do that. I don't want to say I never wanted to. I've never thought about moving somewhere else, but at the same time, it was like, I don't want to be.
There were times
7-8 hours away from my family, you know?
Maybe after my second divorce, I wanted to be away. I think there was just so much hurt in this area, period, that I just wanted to be away. I just wanted to reinvent myself, which you can't.
Right.
You're just taking all that baggage with you, just to a different state. I feel like I got catnip on my tongue.
Oh my goodness. Heather fed her catnip right before we started, so. Anyway.
Yeah, I did want to move away, and I did want to just forget about who that person was.
Right.
But then I was like, I wouldn't know anybody. It would be really
So
hard.
then that goes back to you being really backwards.
Yes.
So you wouldn't want to be
somewhere that
even though I can pretty much guarantee that your boys would have gone, you know, with you, probably.
I wanted to move to Virginia Beach. I'm sure they would have, at least one of them, gone with me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I was even looking for jobs in that area. So, I mean, I really wanted to just pack up and go. But God has a reason for everything, where He keeps you, what you're doing. Like right now, I mean, I'm really going through a process, and it's really, really been a battle, and I try to stay optimistic. But before they put me off work, I had felt like there's something that God wants me to be doing. I need to walk away from what I'm doing now because there's doors opening and there's something He wants me to be doing. And then physically, I had my issues and I got sat down. So I'm still waiting. I mean, I know that there's something that God wants me to be doing, and I'm just waiting for him to let me know what it is. So I have officially quit my job, quit my occupation, and now I'm just waiting. So I feel like I'm in that process of just having to trust in something that trust that there's something, even though I don't see it.
Right.
So it's been a lot of change. A lot of change. It's like everything in my life has sort of uprooted, and I mean, it is what it is, but it's just been a process of just trying to figure out who I am, what's going on, all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that's hard.
It's been a lot of praying, a lot of reading the Bible, a lot of talking to God and being like, okay, I gave it all up. You're going to have to show me what it is that you're wanting.
That's exactly right. Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, you gave it up for me, God.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I know that where he's put me right now is where I need to be with some of the issues that have been going on. Mm-hmm. I know that this is where I'm supposed to be. And there's a reason that I'm not able to work right now because I'm needed elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But it's been hard. 23 years of doing that job. It's hard to just walk away. And like I had to send an email to this company who I have to do continuing education classes, and they renew it every year. And I was like, wanted to make sure I wasn't still on auto subscription because I no longer need those classes because I'm no longer needing a certain amount for my license. I was like, so I'm not renewing my license. I don't need the classes. So that's an end too. So here are the last few days. It's been it's really the end of that era of my life.
I have to say you're braver than me with that. Even when I wasn't doing x-ray, I had to keep my license up.
I'm one of those though, when I have to be done, I have to be done. Because I can draw it out forever, and I'm going to worry and I'm going to stress myself every single day.
I just knew that normally they don't make you take those tests again. However, my luck, they would have changed the rules and I would have had to have taken the test again with all the physics.
I may have had to, but I've had to look at the fact that the degenerative disc isn't something that's going to change. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, I know that because, I have the same thing, but I have been able to go back to doing that. I just can't do as much of it. You know what I mean? Right. And so, anyway, it's just...
And with me, there's too much that could happen that I would be liable for. If someone would code on me,
right?
I can't do CPR on them. Mm-hmm. And I have to.
Right.
I have to try.
Right.
So it's like I can't put myself in that position of being sued for not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
So I've had to just really evaluate all angles. Mm-hmm. What if I went in this setting? Could I do it in this setting? And then it's like, they're still lifting. There's still this. There's still that. There's no way you can really do therapy without there being any kind of lifting.
Right.
So, I mean, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken me from November to now to just finally say, I can't.
Right. Yeah.
But I've dragged the whole process of ending it all out as long as I possibly could.
Right. And I get that. Yeah. Because I don't think I turned in my notice for 2 years after. It was a year and a half or something like that. Till I finally was like, okay, I'm done. I can't go back.
That's the difference, I guess, with me and you. I'm like, I see it right there in front of me. I want to deny it, but I've got to face it head on. I'm done. I'm done with that. I've just got to walk away from it. Otherwise, I'm going to cry all the time.
But we're also at different ages. We were at different ages.
Yes.
You're
still...
Yeah, I was very young.
You were still young and I'm old.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So.
It's hard at almost 50 years old to be like, I don't know what else I'm going to do with my life.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So, if you could have done anything, like I talked about singing, if you could have done anything away from here, away from being under every control, under all the control, you know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, is there anywhere you would have gone, anything that you would have done that you know what
I really think I would have become a lawyer and done corporate law or something like that and just been away from here.
Gotcha.
Because I had thought about just doing corporate law. To me, that would be fine. I didn't have to be in a courtroom every single day, and I could still help people out or whatever I needed to do, and just do corporate law and move to a bigger city and
Make
away
more
from
money.
everything. Reinvent myself in a bigger city at a younger age. But I don't know that I would have ever looked back.
Yeah, I don't. As far as like life, I don't know. Besides, you know, singing or something like that. But I do wish that I would have been able to go somewhere different, like I said, and play, you know, college softball or whatever. But then actually maybe decide on a different path, you know,
Right.
something totally different.
Right.
Because looking back on things now, I'm like, I love the medical field. You know, I do. I've been in it, well, since 99, you know. And, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe I would have liked to have been a teacher or something like that, you know?
Well, we're talking about that. And another thing that I had thought that I wanted to do was be like a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And at that young age, the things that were in my head, one of the things that kept me from doing that was, what if they found out about my past? Would I be able to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist and have the past that I had? I just felt like I was going to be judged and wouldn't be allowed to practice any of that stuff because I had been tainted.
Even though it would have helped you understand your patients a lot better.
Exactly.
You know, and know what they were going through. And
now I
everything.
see that. Then I was like so scared they're going to find out what all's happened. And they're going to say, I need psych help. I don't need to be a psych person.
Yeah.
I need this psychological help myself. I can't help nobody as long as I've had all that stuff done to me, and I haven't had psychological help.
Right.
And I shied away from that because of that.
That's why sometimes when I say this podcast was a good thing for me, because I did start therapy, but I didn't do it for very long, and I probably need to go back. But this is a kind of a form of therapy for me. But then at the same time, I feel like sometimes people are thinking, why is she talking about this stuff if she's not even really had much therapy? You know what I mean? To help out. But just talking about it and people acknowledging what they've gone through, you know, then I think that helps too.
When we started this, it was a way for us to get our story out. And our main goal was to try to stop generational things, to be an outlet for other people that have gone through things. But this is episode 21, and there is so much stuff that we've learned.
Yes.
Just in 21 weeks about other people within our family, people that aren't in our family. There is so much ugly out there that people keep inside. And I mean, we had people that we grew up with that had moved out of state, and we didn't even know that right now they're in prison.
Yeah.
We had no clue. And it blows my mind that these are people that we grew up with and we lost contact with, and find out, you know, they've been in prison for a couple years or whatever, however long it's been, I don't know. But in the reasons that they've gone, it's almost like one person is the root of all evil. But we know that she's not, because there was more evil before she was even in the picture.
Right.
But it's like everybody who had a tie to that place and that person is so messed up.
And you've been talking about witchcraft and things like that before, you know, like somebody must have dabbled in that or something along those lines in order to cause all this. It probably did. You know, there were things that happened before she was in the picture and everything too. But I wouldn't doubt for 1 minute that she wouldn't have made a deal with Satan. You know what I mean? And, you know, and for whatever she wanted to do, whatever evil was in her mind.
And I look at the lifestyle of all the people that were in and out of her home, like living in and out of her home.
Yes.
And it's so different than what it is with us.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, I don't want to be judgmental, but she was supposed to be this wonderful Christian person.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And everybody's just messed up. They've had to deal with issues. I mean, they've been in bad relationships. Some of them have dealt with addiction. A lot of them have repeated the stuff that has happened to them. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's overwhelming to think of all the ugly.
But she also, and I'm trying to say this the right way too, because I don't want to sound judgmental. But she also tried to pay her way into church and into heaven. You know what I mean? You're supposed to pay your tithes. You're supposed to do all that stuff.
But you don't pay people to pray for you into heaven.
Yes, correct.
You gotta learn how to pray for yourself.
Yeah, and she did not live at all that lifestyle that she was paying someone to pray for her about. You know what I mean? And so you can't live that. You can't do it that way. It just does not work that way.
No.
And for the continuation of the evil to keep going on and on and on, you know, you have to stop that. Mm-hmm. And she either didn't have, I don't think she cared. I was going to say, maybe she didn't know how, but she didn't care.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it's the people that had lived there or stayed there a lot, the stuff that we've heard here recently is just, it's just gross.
Yes, it is.
It's like, I don't even know how the right word for it. There's a difference between people being sexually active or promiscuous.
Right.
And then there's a side that is beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like lewd.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just can't comprehend it. How this person is going to preach at everybody, how you're supposed to do this and how you're supposed to do that, and just do ridiculous stuff. I don't want to, that's someone else's testimony to talk about what all was done with them.
Right.
But, ridiculous stuff. And it's just, I don't know. It's mind-blowing to me. It's all just mind-blowing to me.
And then the other thing that gets me too is the ones of us who talk to each other and who have talked about, you know, like our cousin last week or the week before that came on here, you know, she had a messed up childhood. She did. But she's still like us, and we want this generational curse gone, you know? But then you have the other people who, she was in and out of that house a lot, you know? Mm-hmm. But you have the other ones who are just the exact same way as the grandmother was, you know? Right. And they have no desire whatsoever to change anything.
Right. It's about choices.
It is. And it's like, how can you think it's okay to blackmail a family member? You know what I mean? Like, basically, how can you think that that's okay? About sexual things, you know? Just, you can't do that. And it's not right. How do you do that? But then again, you know, in their mind, it's justified because that's just what they grew up around. But that's not okay.
I don't know where some of us were able to see that ain't right. And others, this is the norm.
Yeah.
I don't know where that mentality
and that's what I'm saying, you know?
Because, that person had a parent and a step-parent that were grounded.
Yeah.
She saw a normal.
Just like we did.
Right. We had
with
one
our grandmother and our, grandmother and our mom.
But when you have no one
yeah,
to show you a normal, then what you see is your normal.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the difference.
And just this week we found out more things, you know, that we weren't expecting. And because
Right.
someone else in the family was listening to the podcast and something was triggered that they remembered. And
Right.
so we found out more things just this week.
Right.
Excuse
It's
me.
every week we're finding out pretty much something.
Which is why we're doing this.
Right.
Not for people to have to rehash the things that they're going through, but at the same time be like, oh my gosh, yes, this happened to me, and I'm definitely not going to let this go any further.
But the things that they have stuffed in aren't letting them grow emotionally.
Right.
It's not letting them mature because they're stuck in that. And they might not even realize that they're stuck in it.
Right.
But it's there, and it's slowing down their progression. And like I told that person, what happens in the dark, if it's not brought to light, all that darkness, if it's not brought to light, it just keeps festering and growing. So us doing this is bringing things out and allowing people to share. It's no longer hidden. It's ugly, but it's not a hidden ugly. It's out there.
Yes.
So that people can be start healing from it.
I have another question.
Okay.
That just made me think. So, when we're doing these episodes, and we've talked about us doing these episodes, and it makes us remember things, and it's like sometimes we're trying to decide what topic we're going to talk about, and it's like, well, we have years of things. Why can we not come up with something? But do you find yourself also not being able to remember hardly anything sometimes?
Yes.
And you're like, how did we go through this for years? And I can't remember. I feel like I can't remember 3/4 of it sometimes. But then other times, it's so vivid. I feel like I could walk you through one whole week of just torture. Do you feel that same way?
Especially when we're getting ready, when we're trying to come up with a topic. It's like a mind block.
Yeah.
We got writer's block in our head trying to come up with a topic for our podcast that day.
And then, like, if I, because I watch, not with my little one around, but I watch ID channel a lot, or you just read the horrible news now, in general, and you hear about all these awful things, and it triggers things in my mind. Mm-hmm. But then, we start to talk about the podcast, and it's like, I can't remember anything. I can't think of anything right now.
Right.
So.
And we're always the day of, what are we going to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
And we had decided we was only going to do about half an hour. We're already at like almost 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of changed things up. We was mainly going to talk about the things that we felt like we may have lost out on, or the things that we may have done differently and moved on to something else. But I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah. I'm just, I guess thankful is the word that people are still reaching out and saying, I went through this too, and I would definitely be willing to come on and talk about the things that I've gone through also, just so people know that it's not just you all, and you're not just making this stuff up. It was our family,
Mm-hmm.
And even if it wasn't family, like the other guy that reached out to us and things too, that to say, hey, I understand, I've been there, and that, I guess that gives us confirmation for what we're doing.
Right.
So
I agree.
Well, I guess that will wrap up episode 21.
Yes, ma'am.
And you all know how to find us on survivingdarknesspodcast.com, and that can give you the links to all the other platforms to where you can hear our podcast. And of course, if you have any, and I'll also give you like the email, and you can message us also if you have any questions, any input, whatever, just let us know. Thank you.